There is every indication that the Israelis intend on remaining in the Gaza Strip. Now, the so-called peace deal that President Donald Trump brokered was supposed to create a situation in which eventually the Israelis would withdraw from the Gaza Strip, but it appears that's not going to happen. Now, if you're surprised by that, then you have to be the most naive person on the planet, or maybe you haven't been paying attention to this story as closely as we have. The reality is the whole game, the whole point has been to steal that land in the first place. Benjamin Netanyahu didn't facilitate the funding of Hamas because he wanted the Palestinians to be governed by a well-funded government, okay? He funded Hamas because he planned this from the very beginning, okay? Prop up Hamas, Hamas carries out horrible atrocities on October 7th. IDF soldiers claim, testimony you can see, by the way, for yourselves, it's on tape, that they had stand down orders that day. Takes the IDF hours to respond to Hamas as they're committing their atrocities. Yoav Gallant eventually confesses that the Hannibal directive was deployed, meaning IDF soldiers, when they finally did respond, ended up killing their own people in an effort to prevent Hamas from taking them hostage because they didn't want Hamas to have any leverage. And then you use this as the precursor, the excuse for everything that has transpired in Gaza over the last 2 years. That is the reality of the situation. And the land theft, that'll be the final part. So the piece that I'm referring to is from the Wall Street Journal titled, "A Trip to Gaza's New Yellow Line Shows Israel is Digging In. The temporary dividing line between two foes is becoming more permanent with earthworks and plans for civilian infrastructure." Why am I not surprised? So on Tuesday, the Israeli military took journalists for the first time. Of course, they're escorting them, so journalists aren't free to report from the Gaza Strip as they would want to. They're being escorted, they're being manipulated by the IDF. But nonetheless, they were taken for the first time to see the so-called yellow line that has separated the Israeli and Hamas-controlled areas of Gaza since the ceasefire came into effect. Just a reminder that last night 104 Palestinians were slaughtered by the Israelis. That's not a ceasefire. Israel still controls over 50% of the Strip, as you can see from this map. Somewhere between 53 to 58%. I've seen conflicting reports on that, but certainly more than 50%. So all along the yellow line, Israeli forces are manning existing outposts and putting up new ones. The IDF is laying down yellow painted concrete blocks to formally mark the line, but military officials say that only around 10 to 20% of that work has been completed so far. Now Trump's, you gotta laugh, Trump's peace plan dictates that Israel is supposed to pull back farther toward Gaza's borders once the international security force is on the ground and Hamas has been disarmed. But there's no indication either of those things will happen, at least not anytime soon. And Israel really doesn't seem like they have any intention of retreating. Israeli military officials say they are preparing for the possibility the yellow line could remain their defensive position for the foreseeable future. Should Hamas continue to refuse to disarm, the US and Israel are working on a plan to begin rebuilding Gaza only in areas controlled by Israel. I mean, we've shared that information with you previously, which is part of the reason why I'm not surprised by any of this. But I want you guys to pay close attention to this whole disarm argument, because they keep saying we want Hamas to disarm, which sounds like a totally fair demand. But the reality is they want the Palestinians in general to disarm. They want them to be defenseless. And once they disarm, you have no country. Think about our country. Think about us having our military disarm. All right, well, I mean, we're just sitting ducks. Anyone that wants to invade can invade, and we have no means to defend ourselves. Considering the fact that the Palestinians, if they were to be able to finally develop their own state free of Israel's control, if they don't have a military, if they're demilitarized, who the hell believes for a single second the Israelis aren't gonna invade? Come on. Come on. This is This is so obvious. It's just so obvious. So they want a demilitarized Gaza. For what reason other than Israel, a nuclear power that's backed by a global military superpower? They're gonna pretend they're not demilitarized. We're gonna be victims again. Thus, we must invade and we must take the land, not just in Gaza, but also the West Bank. And then after we do that, we're probably gonna expand further. I mean, they're already occupying southern Lebanon. They have no intention of leaving, even though the ceasefire in Lebanon indicated that, the Israelis were supposed to leave southern Lebanon. They didn't do that though. And no one's even talking about it. No one seems to care. Because one side gets away with literal murder. The other side, if they sneeze too loudly, it's somehow justification to slaughter endless numbers of children. So I don't even know what else to say about this. It's just, I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of the euphemisms. I'm sick of our media and our society pretending like the Israelis are innocent angels when over the last 2 years we have seen them engage in a level of evil that I did not think could exist anymore. It has made me reconsider religion. That's how evil this Israeli government and military is. Because I want answers. How could people this evil, this disgusting, this thirsty for death and destruction exist on this planet? But they do. And we, the American people, are literally going into debt. We are borrowing money so we can send it over to them and fund the atrocities and the land theft and the empire building the Israelis are currently engaging in. That's the reality of the situation. They're also trying to spin this as a noble deed because, of course, why not? Israel is already working on building new water and electricity infrastructure on its side of the yellow line to facilitate the plan, a senior military official said. There are also plans to build new aid hubs along the yellow line. Why? So you can have some desperate Palestinians show up and you can shoot at them, slaughter them, which is what's been happening. It wasn't clear on which side of the yellow line they would be located, but they would need to serve Palestinians living on either side. The only serving they're doing to Palestinians is serving them bullets to their heads and their chests, or dropping bombs on top of their heads. Anyone who's stupid enough to think the Israelis have any interest in helping Palestinian civilians is delusional. Absolutely delusional. These are some of the most evil people I have ever witnessed, and it disgusts me that our government is in bed with